Yes.
Welcome. I am Griet de Handschutter and I'm the Executive Director of Acton-Boxborough United Way. We are so glad you are joining us for our annual meeting and community celebration. My Belgian grandma, my mama, used to say at 30 years old, one eye starts to open. At 50, your second. This past year opened both of my eyes to the importance that thriving cannot be separated from belonging. In fact, nobody can thrive unless they feel they belong, and neither can be taken for granted. Belonging starts with intentionally welcome everyone in. So, yes, you are welcome here. You are valued, your voice is valued, and your actions do matter. The pandemic and the economic crisis, the Boxborough fire, and the realization that not all our neighbors feel safe or feel they belong, demonstrate the importance of taking care of each other. Change starts at the grassroots level. Acton-Boxborough United Way's mantra to mobilize the caring power of community for everyone to belong and thrive is more relevant than ever. What brought us together during this difficult year is our shared love for our community and shared love for our neighbors. This is the reason to celebrate today, despite the grief, harm, and losses we have experienced. When you hear our impact figures, please multiply these figures, as the tremendous efforts were multiplied across so many agencies, essential workers, town staff, school teachers, community partners, and residents who went above and beyond. Together, we lifted up our community. Rebuilding isn't a matter of going back to where we were. It's reimagining how we can be better and how we can build towards that together. Aside from responding and recovering, our board bravely invested extra energy in reimagining and rebuilding to come back stronger as a community and make it a more equitable place for all. To undertake a strategic planning process during the pandemic was a big and bold move, I would say. Our first ever 3-year strategic roadmap will guide us to be most impactful going forward. Today, we lift up the generous sharing of insights by close to 200 people who participated in creating this community-centric plan. And then this fall, we look forward to another major milestone, our 40th anniversary. We see it as an opportunity to create more cross-connections and collaborations. Yes, we have a hill to climb. The work is not done. It will not be easy. But as Amanda Gorman, our nation's first ever youth poet laureate, so powerfully stated, for there is always light if only we're brave enough to see it, if only we're brave enough to be it. And with this, I open our annual meeting and community celebration. Thank you all for your unwavering support and your readiness to live united. And with this, I actually would like to immediately go to a very big thank you. I would like to thank our outgoing board president, Karen Collins. Karen, you just have been an exceptional leader throughout an extraordinary year. As founder of Bisou Sweet, a baking company that grew or boomed dramatically during the pandemic, you modeled really learning and growing as a leader, as a storyteller, and while sharing your baking savvy for many years, this year through the Easy as Pie event. Karen's commitment to Acton-Boxborough United Way runs deep, going into her 6th year as board member. She brings her positive entrepreneurial spirit, and she inspires us to reach for operational excellence to make every dollar stretch further. Karen made a strategic plan possible. She led the board in strategic reflection and action. As an active listener, she finds ways to move people boldly forward, to bond, and to tackle difficult conversations. Though Karen is stepping down as board president, I am so pleased that she will continue to serve on our executive committee to share knowledge with our entire team and our energetic incoming board president, Jill O'Brien. Both share an infectious laugh and a great sense of humor. Thank you, Karen, for your tremendous leadership.
Thank you so much, Greet. It's been a pleasure. Without question, ABUW has thrived in the past year in a large part because of our dream team making up our staff. It began with Greet when we brought her in to drive our bus in 2019. Under Greet's inspiring and energetic leadership, the team quickly grew. We are blessed to have Greet as our fearless leader, Shauna, our office guru, Kirsten, our numbers wizard, and Katie, our media and event planning superstar. These 4 women do the work of 10. Without them, ABUW would never have been able to accomplish the scope of work we did throughout this pandemic. And to our amazing board. We laughed, we cried, we raised a ton of money to invest back into our community. We tackled challenging topics over and over again. We persevered when we were weary and showed up for each other and our communities when our neighbors needed us most. I am so very humbled to have had the pleasure of working with you. I've learned so much from each of you, and I will carry these lessons forward and continue to share them with the ABUW board in the upcoming year. I'm sending virtual hugs to each of you. Thank you so much for your extraordinary work during this past year. Okay. Now we are going to talk about our board members who are leaving. It has been, can you guys hear me? Yes? Okay, thanks, sorry. It has been my honor to work closely with these fabulous outgoing board members. Let's take a moment to recognize their invaluable contributions. Marie Altieri, for your steady voice of reason, for being able to walk that tricky line of being optimistic while remaining grounded in reality. Your knowledge of our organization and our communities has guided us over the years and kept us moving always in the right direction. Thank you for everything you've done. I've learned so much from you. Joel Friedman, otherwise known as my father. Dad, it's been truly a pleasure working side by side with you on United Way. Thank you for saying yes when I made the call and asked if you would be interested in joining the board. You are leaving behind a legacy of few words and crisp financial reporting. Thank you for your numbers. I appreciate everything you did. Martha, to the woman who remained calm when the seas became rocky, you kept our boat steady and moving toward our lighthouse. You were instrumental in helping shape our current understanding of United Way, our mission, our goals, our language. Thank you so much for your cheerful, sweet support over the years. You'll be missed. And to Mark Burak, our longest serving board member and a dear friend of mine. Mark is just finishing his 6th and final year on the board. Mark, you're going to be missed. Whether you are advising us on best practices, helping me properly run a meeting, reminding us to keep a big picture view of what is possible, or stepping forward to lead us in our upcoming 5K run walk this fall, your contributions to United Way and our community over the years have been exceptional. I've learned a lot from you. Thank you so much. And to our 2 student board members, Prisha and Elizabeth, in so many ways, you two served as my North Star throughout the year. In every way, you represent the future. You two gave me hope and reminded me of the importance of sharing our mission and our values with people in your generation. Your combined strength, resolve, and willingness to dig in and work on behalf of others will take both of you far in life. Hold on to this and continue giving back by sharing what you learned as you move forward in life. Thank you so much. Wishing both of you all the best. Okay. Well, hello, Jill O'Brien. Good to see you.
Hello.
It is my sincere pleasure to introduce our next board president, Jill O'Brien. Jill, without question, you're going to be an exceptional president. I look forward to working with you next year and learning from you. May your energy remain high, your smile wide, and your ability to celebrate each win remain strong as you move forward in this new role. You're going to crush it. Go get it.
Thanks, Karen. Taking the baton from you is inspiring, and I appreciate your leadership, and I hope to emulate your compassion always. That is heartfelt for sure. This community means so much to me as I have lived here nearly my entire life. I'm looking forward to connecting with each of you and creating new friendships. It'll be great to learn about your lived experiences, your hopes, dreams, and needs. This board has put together a tremendous effort in identifying priorities and goals in our new strategic roadmap. I'm excited to work with our board, our staff, our amazing core of volunteers, and so many partners to put the plan into action and make our community a better place for everyone. I love a good social event, and our 40th anniversary is going to be a year-long celebration where everyone could choose to eat, which is my favorite, run, walk, dance, meet new people, reflect, toast, learn, and give back to the community. It's going to be fabulous. And it's an honor to serve our community and work with such a diverse, intelligent, and giving 21-person board. And I'm pleased to hand the mic to Mark Burak, who will talk about this past year.
Thank you, Jill, and thank you, Karen, for the kind words. I wanted to talk about a year that, there's just no other way to define it, but to say that the last fiscal year for this organization and for the entire country was one defined by crisis. And in crisis, unfortunately, the fault lines in this community became more visible. While we do, at least appear to live in a robust and healthy and wealthy community, low-income residents around us who have no financial reserves, no extra buffer for an emergency or crisis, those were the people that suffered those fault lines. Given the growing income inequality and the rising cost of living here in our community, we saw the issues of financial instability increase dramatically for many of our neighbors. Given the pandemic and as well the Boxborough fire, truly hundreds of local residents suddenly found themselves in serious need of assistance. Many of these people had never had any firsthand experience with such need for assistance and found it difficult to access services, especially when they had no prior experience. The reality is asking for help is hard for most of us. It takes overcoming pride, let alone language and cultural barriers. And even more challenging if you're an undocumented family, asking for help is not just tough, it might not feel or be safe, which creates yet another barrier for access to services, even when greatly needed. Combining all those crises with other social situations, and here the demand for diversity, equity, and inclusion, and the urgency to make progress on racial justice cause much soul searching and demands for action across our nation and right here in Acton and Boxborough. I'd like to turn it over to Marie, and thank you, Marie. It's been a pleasure serving with you for so many years, and I'm privileged to work with you as well. Marie's going to summarize for us how AB United Way has rallied the community to respond to these multiple challenges that we've experienced over the past year.
Thank you very much, Mark. These past 12 months, AB United Way did what we do best. We mobilized the caring power of our community. We asked for support and you responded very generously. Thanks to your actions, AB United Way has been able to step forward by giving financial assistance to residents and agencies. Let's take a look at some key impact figures. AB United Way increased direct assistance to residents from 15 residents per year before the pandemic to over 560 residents during the pandemic. Expressed in dollars, direct assistance went from $5,000 a year to over $225,000 during the pandemic. The bulk of the funding was through our COVID-19 Impact Fund emergency grants up to $1,000 per family. Based on this track record, just last month, we received an additional $15,000 in state funding through the Foundation for Metro West to support immigrants hit hard by COVID, especially those who cannot access federal services. This funding might be further increased. And when a massive fire tore through an apartment complex in Boxborough and left 24 households without homes in the midst of this already trying winter, you helped us raise an additional $65,000 to assist in their recovery. We want to thank our dedicated town community services coordinators, Laura Ducharme in Acton and Rose Gage in Boxborough, our local faith leaders, and Acton Housing Authority, who screened all residential applications for COVID relief for rent, utilities, and basic needs since April of last year. And they helped connect residents with other available state and federal services. We thank the towns of Acton and Boxborough, the councils on aging, our policy makers, many community partners, and Middlesex Savings Bank Foundation for amplifying the availability of grants so we could spread the word to harder to reach residents. In addition to direct grants, we also gave emergency funding to local agencies during the pandemic. We granted $34,450 in emergency relief to 6 community partners, 4 food distribution agencies to prevent residents from going hungry, and 2 community partners to support low-income families in remote learning and help afford summer camp. This emergency funding is above and beyond the $225,000 in community impact grants we'll talk about shortly. All told, it represents investments of nearly $260,000 into local agencies doing critical work. The pandemic created an unprecedented need for food assistance. In April 2020, Acton-Boxborough United Way initiated the Food Security Task Force to bring all food distribution partners together, exchange learning, and encourage coordination and collaboration. We also started to gather and share data to deploy resources most effectively. Today, over 720 families receive free food assistance every week from 4 partners: the Acton Food Pantry, Open Table Maynard, AB Schools, and Mount Calvary Supper. This is a 61% increase in demand since the start of the pandemic. In addition, the Stowe Food Pantry provides once-a-month food assistance. We also helped coordinate delivery of other services at the pantries, such as free books with the Acton Library, diapers through First Connection, and shared information about emergency grants. Acton-Boxborough residents benefit greatly from our affiliation with United Way worldwide. 15 United Ways across Massachusetts serve all communities in the Commonwealth. We share best practices and expertise with each other to shorten learning curves and increase impact. During this past year, collaboration at state level intensified. We started to measure our collective impact for the first time. United Ways across Massachusetts raised more than $31 million, which helped serve 8% of all Massachusetts residents during the pandemic. The Mass 211 hotline, run by United Way, offers support in 140 languages around the clock and had a record 300,000 calls from residents across the state. AB United Way promoted the hotline and updated information on services as available from local agencies as they were changing due to the pandemic. And this past year, the hotline received almost 1,200 calls from Acton and Boxborough residents, a massive increase in local calls from just 328 a year before. The pandemic made the need for affordable childcare and kindergarten readiness more critical than ever. Did you know that the United Ways in Massachusetts are the largest private funder of early childhood education and out-of-school programs in our state? Finally, United Ways together have the capacity and breadth to bring a powerful voice to advocate at state and federal levels for childcare support, mental health, and stimulus funding. Linda, the floor is yours to share program highlights.
Thanks, Marie. Our community's mental health has been a primary focus area for AB United Way for many years. And during the pandemic, we realized that more support was needed. We started by conducting mental health needs assessments to evaluate and unpack the needs among our seniors, and held several workshops for specific audiences, such as students, seniors, and other adults. We then offered our virtual hosting expertise to groups such as AB Cares and the National Alliance on Mental Illness, also known as NAMI. With their subject matter expertise, we brought critical workshops and training to our community. Together, we were able to reach a lot of residents. For example, 98 became certified as QPR gatekeepers after following the Question, Persuade, and Refer training offered by AB Cares, our community coalition for suicide prevention. This was triple the number of residents certified the previous year. We also continue to innovate with programs that address community needs beyond COVID. For example, to help make homes in our community safer, AB Cares collaborated with the Middlesex Sheriff's Office and collected 34 unwanted guns at our first ever voluntary gun buyback program this spring. COVID-19 did offer an opportunity to think big and redesign programs. We turned our traditional Day of Caring in September into a week of action to offer an outlet during the pandemic and enable volunteers to engage safely. Participants included community groups, corporate teams, families, and residents of all ages. In total, 1,163 participants joined in 26 events as we collaborated with 68 partners, a tremendous turnout and community participation during these extraordinary times. Never before has the crisis relief featured so big in AB United Way's programming. To assist in the response and recovery after the Boxborough fire in February, residents successfully experimented with innovative 360 degrees circles of care. Local volunteers worked with community groups and town staff, assisting where needed, providing 24 households with meals, housing, clothing, moving, and other services. As Marie mentioned earlier, AB United Way distributed $65,000 in direct funding to support recovery, a true testament of our caring community. Any disaster, whether it is COVID or a fire, requires a nimble initial response, as well as assistance during the long-term recovery process. AB United Way works on both fronts. You will hear more later about the unprecedented collaborations following the fire. Acton-Boxborough United Way provides care and support 365 days a year, not just during a crisis. One way we provide day-to-day support is through our grant allocations to local agencies. Pat, who co-chairs the Grant Allocations Committee, will now tell you more about our grant allocations, familiar to many of you.
Good evening. Even before COVID hit, we were intending to redesign our annual community investment process for allocating the community impact grants to agencies. Our goal was to make the process and decision criteria more transparent. We also introduced new grant criteria around DEI, and racial justice, and developed a hands-on training to make it easier for all residents to get involved in the grant allocation application review process. Because of the pandemic, we postponed the grant allocation process from the spring to the fall of 2020. We extended $50,000 in additional funding to existing recipients from the prior grant cycle for 6 more months through December 2020. This way, the recipients could stay focused on the COVID relief work and use the funds to do that work, and in some cases, keep the electricity flowing in their buildings. We plan to resume our regular spring grant cycle starting this coming January. When you donate to the Acton-Boxborough United Way, your dollars work harder to bring critical services to our community. By pooling your donations, AB United Way is able to make significant grants to organizations bringing services to our community that might not be available otherwise. In December of last year, we announced our largest commitment ever to invest services from local agencies, $175,000 in community impact grants to 17 area nonprofits, supporting the health, education, and financial stability of Acton and Boxborough residents. This commitment was a 13% increase over community impact grants in the previous year. As I had just mentioned, we had granted an additional $50,000 to the recipients of the prior cycle, resulting in an unprecedented total 18-month commitment of $225,000 to 19 agencies. Now I'm excited to introduce Gori, a new board member.
Hi, thanks, Pat. I'm Gauri Tandon, and I wanted to share how I got involved in AB United Way. The opportunity to contribute to the COVID-19 Impact Fund got our neighborhood's attention, and we decided to contribute together. This past fall, I volunteered for the first time in the community investment process to allocate agency grants that Pat just told you about. It was completely new to me. I followed the training for new participants, reviewed 2 grant applications and summarized them, participated in several agency interviews, and ultimately deliberated with other volunteers and board members. I learned so much during the agency interviews about solutions to real needs and the tremendous dedication of so many local nonprofits who had rapidly adjusted their operations due to COVID. Their passion to serve residents was inspirational. Participating in the community investment process was so rewarding that I wrote about it in my personal blog. It made me eager to get more involved in United Way. So thank you. Back to Pat. Oops.
This past year was a year of awakening. And thanks to a Sudbury Foundation grant, our board and staff invested time and effort in diversity, equity, and inclusion and racial justice training. We learned to see, hear, and value each of our neighbors. We came to appreciate that we all bring different lived experiences. We see this as a richness and a strength of our community. We have much more in common than what divides us. As a community leader, AB United Way recognizes historic and systemic inequities and is ready to stand up to address them. As a board, we're committed to speaking truth to power and to strengthening our community culture of belonging. We realize that there are no quick fixes and that this is a long-term commitment. On this slide, you can see the steps we took this past year to advance DEI and racial justice. We are excited to be part of the AB Racial Justice Collaborative that brings 30 community groups together. There is no us versus them. We are one community. We are neighbors standing up for neighbors. Today we celebrate all our amazing volunteers who chose to give back to our community through Acton-Boxborough United Way. In terms of mobilizing the caring power of community through volunteerism, it was a record-shattering year. Despite a year of grief and struggle of virtual meetings only, new and longtime volunteers came together in so many different ways. Through committees, teamwork, and coalitions at community events, during the grant process, for the strategic planning effort, and for the Boxborough Fire and more. Together, you dedicated 8,533 volunteer hours. This corresponds to in-kind support of $217,000. This is an absolute record of the past 40 years. Together, you helped imagine the unimaginable, resulting in an unprecedented, impactful year. And we thank each of you for your fabulous and unique contributions. And now I'll turn it over to Karen.
Thank you, Jill. This year, the unique challenges were bigger than any single individual could address. It was a year of teamwork and collaboration. That's why we want to dedicate this year's Volunteer of the Year to an exceptional team of volunteers. This team came together in April 2020. Without them, we could not have supported over 500 residents with COVID-19 relief grants of up to $1,000 each. The team did not ask for any credit, but they deserve special recognition. They met twice a week for months, and later weekly, to evaluate each request for COVID-19 relief from residents, working in tandem with the town's social workers, faith leaders, and Acton Housing Authority, AB United Way board and staff. And yes, these community partners deserve a special shout out too. The 2021 Volunteer of the Year Award goes to our emergency grant group. The team refers to themselves as the eggs. The egg team members not only helped with our COVID-19 relief grants, but assisted in allocating the state funding for immigrants and so much more. The eggs shared insights about how to reach our underserved communities, and were valuable contributors in our strategic planning. This remarkable group of caring neighbors also show that volunteering at its best is a rewarding and gratifying egg experience. Yes, even in the heavy circumstances they were working to address, they found joy and comfort via Zoom and in the knowledge that their work was making a tangible difference in the lives of more than 500 residents. As you can imagine, nicknaming themselves the eggs gave rise to a lot of puns. We are therefore giving an exceptional award to 6 extraordinary volunteers, a personal egg and a specially designed t-shirt as our extravagant thank you. Eggs, please wave as I mention your name so that our guests can spot you. First, I would like to thank Shelley Sherman, who unfortunately could not join us tonight. Thank you to Carol, Amy, David, Jen, and Caroline. You are truly exceptional and inspirational volunteers. Greet back to you.
Well, thank you, eggs. You are extra special, truly. But now I want to bring our attention to an inaugural award for a very special, named after a very special man In honor and memory of Mike Tobia, Mount Calvary Community Supper's founder and chairman, who passed away this winter, our board decided to establish the annual Mike Tobia Award for Community Leadership. Since its inception in 2012, the supper has served over 40,000 meals through the collective efforts of hundreds of volunteers, sponsors, and donors. Mike was an inspired leader, organizer, collaborator, and innovator, and a close friend of Acton-Boxborough United Way. Mike intentionally extended the table to everyone who wanted to be part of the supper and treated every guest with compassion and dignity. I had the honor to work closely with Mike in the Food Security Task Force. Mike was all in. He was the early adopter, ready to nimbly adapt a weekly community supper for 60 guests into a drive-through operation serving 180 meals weekly, while still keeping the warm hospitality and a sense of community. Mike ran with each idea and implemented it before the next meeting. He helped build trust, and his growth mindset set the tone, and the task force became stronger because of him. Now I have the honor to say that Senator Jamie Eldridge is here today and will announce the first Mike Tobia Award winner. Thank you, Jamie, for joining us tonight.
Good evening, Greet. Thank you so much. Wonderful to be here with everyone. The Mike Tobia Award recognizes an outstanding community leader dedicated to serving residents and needs with compassion and dignity while fostering a sense of belonging for all. I knew Mike throughout his entire time running the Acton Community Supper. I miss him greatly, and what I always remember about him is his absolute selflessness in making sure that the community supper ran on time and providing enough food to our vulnerable residents. But he also had a great, I would say, dry sense of humor, and I miss both, and thankful so much to Acton-Boxborough United Way for creating this award in his name. It's my honor and pleasure to announce to everyone tonight the recipient of the inaugural Mike Tobia Award for 2021. Reverend Cindy Worthington Berry, Senior Pastor at United Church of Christ in Boxborough. Congratulations. I've known Cindy since she first became the pastor. I remember very well the work to rebuild and renovate the church, and just always see her at community meetings, always stepping up to serve individuals throughout Acton and Boxborough. Not surprisingly, Acton-Boxborough United Way made the unanimous decision to nominate Reverend Cindy Worthington Berry for the Mike Tobia Award on her compassionate care for neighbors, especially standing out throughout the pandemic. When Reverend Cindy sees a vital, unaddressed need, she works together tirelessly to figure out a solution. In the Food Security Task Force, her probing questions led to better collective and creative solutions to the immense challenge of getting food on the table for all of our residents. And most recently, Cindy was a driving force in the response and recovery following the Boxborough fire, something that I worked very closely with her on in trying to gather resources. Reverend Cindy assisted residents the night of the fire, and she hasn't stopped since, organizing partners and volunteers, following up with each of the families over the last 4 months, assessing needs and figuring out solutions for housing, medical care, mental health support, gaining access to belongings, and connecting with landlords, a challenge which continues. Cindy kept the ball rolling and figured out practical solutions. Reverend Cindy brings her bridge building experience everywhere she participates, including to the AB Racial Justice Collaborative. Her innovative and collaborative spirit showed once again in her active support for Boxborough's new volunteer freebie network, offering free activities and free food throughout the summer on the church lawn across from Town Hall. Reverend Cindy always brings empathy, deep listening, a calming presence, and a healthy dose of humor to each gathering. On behalf of the community and Acton-Boxborough United Way, Reverend Cindy, we thank you for your exemplary community leadership. So many residents feel inspired by you, and I know personally so many residents have been helped by you. I just think back to the night of the fire and being in touch with you the next day, already creating a fund to serve the residents from the fire. And that's how responsive you are, and just your commitment to directly make sure that the needs of every single resident there was taken care of. I'm deeply grateful representing Boxborough and Acton. Reverend Cindy, thank you and congratulations. Deeply deserving honor. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. I am so glad that ABUW is honoring Mike Tobia in this way. His dedication to the community supper was so amazing, even and especially when he was sick. He'd be cranking out these details about the supper, and then he'd send me an email asking for prayers as he got ready for another round of chemo. I swear the community supper was often the best medicine for him, and he just constantly used that as a way to impact the community. And while I'm not particularly comfortable receiving this award, I love that it exists. Like Mike and the folks at the community supper, ABUW has been an incredible collaboration partner, especially during COVID and following the February 10th fire in Boxborough. Anything I've been able to do in the community has been because of partners in town halls and schools and police stations and food pantries and hotels and agencies like ABUW. So thank you for all of your creativity, energy, and support. And here's to another year of living united. Many thanks.
Congratulations, Reverend Cindy. And now I'm thrilled to introduce an amazingly energetic, talented, and diverse class of new board members. You can read their full bios in the program. I'd like to start with our two student board members who are rising seniors at Acton-Boxborough High School. Please introduce yourself and share your superpower.
Hi everyone, I'm Zainab Jadanebi. I'm currently a junior, and I would say that my superpower is multitasking, because I just do so much at the same time and I still seem to complete it.
Hi everyone, I'm Elizabeth Sun. I was actually also going to say multitasking as my superpower, but instead I guess I'll say my superpower is all things digital.
I think we're moving on to the adult new members of the board. So I'm Erin Vitez. Like these wonderful young women, I was going with the same theme, and I was going to call it juggling, because being able to do a lot of those things is what we all do. So I'm sticking with that. I will pass this along to Liz.
Hi, I'm Liz Johnson, and my superpower, I was going to say multitasking, but I tried to think of something else, because I think everybody who's here, that's what we all do. But so my superpower is I love to garden, and the superpower, it's that every single year I've managed to get poison ivy. The ability to get poison ivy regardless of what I do, I can just walk near my garden and I get poison ivy. So that's my superpower. And I would like to pass this along to Maribel.
Hi everyone, I'm Maribel Mendoza, and I would say my superpower is I like to look at a lot of information and kind of put it into a framework. It's kind of how my brain works. So frameworking is my superpower. And I'll pass it over to Nancy. Oh, we can't hear you yet, Nancy.
You're on mute, Nancy. There you go.
The Zoom expert's on mute. So Nancy Settle Murphy, and I think my superpower in a work setting would be designing and facilitating really complicated, difficult conversations. And outside of work, I have a really killer immune system. I mean, knock wood. I've been sick for over 20 years. I don't know why, but that's what it is. And I'd like to pass it over to Gauri.
Yeah, thanks, Nancy. I'm Gauri Tandon, and my superpower is Indian spice sensing. I can sense the aroma, I can sense the flavor you give me. I'll tell you what it is. I'll pass it back to Jill.
And unfortunately, Romy Saluja can't be here tonight as he's supporting his brother and family in Australia through a health crisis. So I'm going to share with you Romy's superpower. He has already made an exceptional difference in contributing his skills to update the community needs assessment with the most recent census data. So Romy's superpower is definitely data diving. And now we're looking for, I should say, welcome everyone. This is the first time I can say and see everyone's face. So welcome. I have to take an opportunity to jump and say what I want to say. Welcome. It's great having you. And now we're looking forward toward the future, and we're very excited to share the highlights of our 3-year strategic plan. I'm proud to be the president of a board that dares to lead. Jointly, we made the decision to respond and recover from multiple crises, but to also put tremendous extra effort into reimagining our future so we can rebuild and make a better, more equitable community where everyone thrives, hence the name of the plan. This roadmap was a community effort that deserves a celebration. Over 190 residents, experts, and community partners contributed to the creation of this plan. Thank you, Nancy, who helped design a robust outline process to garner community input in a virtual setting. Joanne Nair, thank you for your skillful leadership and willingness to head our board's strategic task force to coordinate this entire process. If you wish to read the highlights of our strategic plan, visit our new website at abuw.org. The plan and the community needs assessment with community data will be published this summer. Joanne, take us through our strategic roadmap as you do this so beautifully and efficiently.
Thank you, Jill. I'd like to start by telling everyone why we've created the strategic roadmap. The purpose of this strategic plan is to help us advance our vision for the community by creating positive and lasting change in the most effective and impactful manner. The plan will help us focus on key issues, prioritize how to allocate resources, and measure progress. By sharing our findings and focus, we hope to encourage collaboration, avoid duplication, and create more opportunities for others to do important work that is beyond our scope. The plan is community-centric. Impact, or making a difference in our community, is what matters. We deliberately partnered with the community throughout the planning process. We started 8 months ago, and since then we've conducted a virtual community survey, many community conversations, 2 stakeholder workshops, several board and staff workshops, and multiple check-ins with community experts. We created a strategic task force to drive the process and sub-teams to dig into each focus area. And approximately 200 community members contributed to the development of this plan. Also, a special thank you to Emerson Hospital for your financial support of the plan. The plan is also data-driven. Thanks to amazing engineers on our team, we've analyzed census and other data to build upon our prior needs assessment from 2015 to gain an understanding of how our community has evolved and what our current needs are. We will also be able to update, analyze, and share the latest community data and key learnings on an annual basis. So let's jump in. Let's start with the vision statement. A vision statement is also often referred to as a desired dream state. It describes the clear and inspirational long-term desired change resulting from an organization's work. We believe that the best vision statements are inspirational, clear, memorable, and concise. Our vision for Acton-Boxborough is to be a community where everyone belongs and thrives. Our mission statement states how we, as an organization, plan to reach our vision. Our mission reads, "We mobilize the caring power of community to drive positive, lasting change. United, we fight for the health, education, and financial stability of every person in Acton and Boxborough." This visual of an open tent explains our mission. Let me walk you through the visual from the bottom up. DEI and racial justice are intentionally depicted as the foundation of our open tent. As previously mentioned, belonging is foundational for each of us. It is a prerequisite for thriving. Our leadership team is committed to strengthening our community's culture of belonging. As such, we will use a DEI lens in every aspect of our work to make it part of our organization. To capture our commitment to do this hard and often uncomfortable work, we show steps to climb. We have also designated DEI and racial justice as a separate impact goal in our strategic roadmap to emphasize that we plan to work together with the community, as this is a responsibility we all share. Moving up the illustration, upon that foundation, you will see 3 people. Acton-Boxborough United Way believes in people power. We believe in mobilizing the power of community members. Together, we can address the needs of our community in 3 focus areas: health, education, and financial stability. We've created an impact goal for each in our strategic roadmap. Stepping back, you can see that the illustration is of an open tent. We offer our organization as an open tent, a safe platform for all residents and community partners, public and private, to work together to bring change where needed. In addition to our vision and mission statements, we have also developed guiding principles. These core values remain constant over time, regardless of the specific community need we are addressing. You can review them on our new website at abuw.org. We have identified 5 impact areas to be our focus for the next 3 years. I have just mentioned the first 4. 1, our foundation of DEI and racial justice. 2, health, and our focus will be on mental health, as you will hear more about in a minute. 3, education, and our focus will be on early childhood success. And 4, financial stability. Our 5th impact area is crisis preparedness and relief. Based upon this past year, which is dominated by the need to respond to the pandemic, we realized that we should not only strategize for crisis relief, but also for crisis preparedness. Therefore, we have created a 5th focused area to address this in our strategic roadmap. Acton-Boxborough United Way is a proud member of United Way Worldwide Network. Across the network and in our own practice, we identified 4 strength-based strategies that have proven to increase impact when we leverage them properly. The 4 strength-based strategies we are planning to utilize across all 5 impact areas in our strategic roadmap are: 1, assess. Assessing grassroots needs is what AB United Way has done for 40 years. It is what all United Ways do very well across the United States. We gather community data and knowledge, assess community needs, and share that knowledge with partners in the community to turn knowledge into action. 2, convene. As a trusted community leader, we will continue to build on our strong tradition and expertise in bringing together partners from across the community. It is a strength we can use to bring about effective change. 3, program. Based on the assessments, we prioritize and bring targeted programming to advance our strategic goals. Using a DEI lens, we will seek to intentionally reach out and engage our entire community, especially those who are traditionally underserved. And 4, connect. Connecting residents with resources is the most efficient way, and it is at the core of what we do. Despite being relatively wealthy suburbs, we are a desert for social services, especially if you are under the age of 60. And with so many newcomers to our community, identifying and assessing resources is often challenging, no matter who you are. So now, other members of the Strategic Task Force will show you how we've applied these strength-based strategies to each of our 5 impact areas. First up, to talk about DEI and racial justice is Vivian.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Vivian Kopsinger-Birchall, and I'm excited to take you through our impact goals for diversity, equity, inclusion, and racial justice. In our 2015 Community Needs Assessment, racism was not listed as a concern. Analysis of data by race and ethnicity were limited. However, with the continued tragic deaths of so many innocent people of color, a rise in anti-Asian hate, and an increase in anti-Semitism, the national awakening is also echoing in our community. And the community survey that we conducted this past year showed an overwhelming concern about the need to ensure that all our neighbors feel as though they belong. Making sure that newcomers and existing residents feel warmly welcomed and included ranked high among respondents, the respondents' key priorities. Respondents specifically called out a breadth of racial priorities. So they called out ethnic communities, residents with disabilities, LGBTQIA+ residents, and other seniors and young people as those whose needs we must address. Belonging is obvious for some, for others, it's much less so. As a recent immigrant to Acton, I have had to navigate, a social and professional system that is so foreign, a different way of life, and I've had to relearn language, nuances, habits, and acquire new skills in order to belong. This is not easy for many because of the barriers to inclusion, such as race, education, and literacy, culture differences, and confidence levels, among other things. And this brings me to our impact goals. Our dream state is to have a community where everyone belongs, or in which everyone belongs. We refer to this as a dream state as we realize that we strive to meet our goals and objectives with regard to DEI and racial justice in our community. Intentionally, purposefully, however, the goal will always be just out of reach. The work will be hard. We will make mistakes, but we will learn from our mistakes, persevere, and continue to strive to meet our goals and objectives to build a better, improving, and more welcoming community to address systemic racism and stand up against hate and division. Our 3-year goal is to increase community conversations and support learning about DEI and racial justice. We believe that AB United Way can play a pivotal role in trust building by offering our open tent as a safe platform for dialogue and learning. Now, I'd like to highlight a few of our year 1 strategies. We believe that our expertise in convening can make a strategic difference for our community. Earlier this year, Acton-Boxborough United Way took a leadership role in the AB Racial Justice Collaborative. More than 30 local community groups come together monthly to understand what each is doing to learn, increase collaboration, and avoid duplication of efforts and resources. We see great potential in this collaborative as DEI and racial justice are not one person or one group's responsibility. It will take all of us to bring about meaningful change. Starting this fall, we plan to offer community building circles, and these are small group conversations to get to know each other. A key theme underlying the community survey responses from the past year centered on a priority for genuine and sustained, courageous, inquisitive, empathetic, community-wide listening and learning about who our neighbors are, their own unique histories and stories. For many years, Congregation Bethlehem has done incredible work bringing the community together annually for an event on Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And this past year, we supported Bethlehem to expand outreach during the pandemic. We also created the MLK Day mini website to amplify a wide range of local activities and events by community groups. Expanding these types of collaborations is a key priority. Connecting with resources is important in all our impact areas. We will continue to host a shared resource, to host a shared resources site for the AB Racial Justice Collaborative to make it easy for residents to find information on events, book clubs, reading, podcasts, and film. So each of us can learn at our own pace through our preferred channels. So next, Quentin Cote, our treasurer, will take you through our mental health impact goals.
Quentin, you need to unmute.
There we go. Thank you so much, Vivian. Hi, I'm Quentin Cote, new to the board this year. As a father of 3 daughters who went through the AB school systems, I saw the devastating impact of suicide on children, their families, our schools, and community. It is clear to me that a community-wide commitment to mental health is necessary to make a difference. As we began our strategic planning around issues of health in our community, we learned several things that made it evident that we should continue to focus on addressing mental health. First, mental health and suicide prevention were raised as primary concerns in the recent community survey. They have been so important for our community and continue to stand out as a major challenge. Second, the pandemic has had profound impacts on our community's mental health. The collective impact of grief, anxiety, and isolation has been felt across the board, impacting different groups of residents in various ways. And we know that the impact will be felt long after the pandemic is over. And third, we found that while topics of mental health and well-being have become less taboo for some residents, there are still other community members who are much less comfortable seeking the help they need. So, our dream state is that residents recognize the importance of prioritizing mental health, know where to turn for resources, and enjoy regular programming to promote well-being among all our neighbors. And our 3-year goal is to enhance community-based mental health resilience. We've seen the power of convening in other arenas, including the AB Cares Coalition that focused on suicide prevention. We believe that creating a broader local mental health coalition will be most impactful. The goal is to include local stakeholders in mental health with insight on a wide variety of audiences, reflective of our diverse community and its wide-ranging mental health needs. We hope to engage higher ed partners, all faith groups, members of the AB Cares and AB Community Resources Network, and the AB Racial Justice Collaborative. With the help of this newly formed coalition, we will then develop and execute a community mental health needs assessment to help inform what work needs to be done, both by us and these partners. We will focus on new needs created and exacerbated through COVID, examining collective grief, as well as the needs of specific audiences, such as those who were economically burdened by COVID, children, working parents, and more, all with a DEI lens to make sure we are capturing the needs and opportunities of our diverse community. AB United Way has long been known for the annual community speaker that brings residents together for shared learning on a topic. We plan to continue this tradition, as well as grow our targeted programming in collaboration with local partners. A recurring theme in the intakes from the community and stakeholders was that oftentimes people simply don't know what local resources are available to them. We plan to further develop our resource site, which we'll be putting a link in the chat, and then work with community partners to share this site out. This site will include resources for those in crisis and resources to promote well-being for all. Now I'd like to introduce Pubali, who will take you through our education impact goal.
Thanks, Quentin. Hello, everybody. I'm Pubali, and I have just finished my first year serving on the board. So when my husband and I first landed at the Boston Logan Airport exactly 20 years back in June of 2001 on a flight from India, we didn't know anybody in the US. Without friend or family to lean on, we were immensely grateful to the early intervention program. The program helped us navigate the learning resources and the support network available to us and our newborn son, who had just been released from the neonatal ICU at MGH. This was like a lifeline for us. And this is why I believe that early childhood support is critical for young and vulnerable families in more ways than one. So over the past few months, as we built on the strategic roadmap, we have learned some very key important things that have informed our plan in the area of early childhood success. Most importantly, we learned annual costs at a child care center in Massachusetts average about $30,000 for an infant and a 4-year-old, which is about 32% of the median income for families with children. All families need access to affordable childcare and preschool to support working parents and to ensure that children start kindergarten ready to learn. Believe it or not, by the age of 4, economically disadvantaged children hear about 30 million fewer words than their more advantaged peers. And during the first 5 years of life, children learn critical skills such as language and socio-emotional regulation, which provide a foundation for lifelong learning. Many local families here in Acton-Boxborough are not aware of the resources available to help with childcare costs. But learning at any age requires a really close partnership between the schools and the community. Early childhood success is a community responsibility, and we at Acton-Boxborough need to make sure that all kids can start kindergarten ready to learn. And this brings us to our hope for the community, and that is all children have the option to attend a quality pre-K program. All children enter kindergarten ready to learn. Families understand the importance of and engage in local enrichment options to promote skill development and socialization for their young learners. Our 3-year goal will be to increase the number of children who enter kindergarten ready to learn. And with that, I'd like to highlight 2 programs. Katie, can you move the slide forward? Thank you. So with that, I'd like to highlight 2 programs we plan to bring to Acton-Boxborough in this coming year. Both of these programs have actually been successfully implemented by other United Ways, and we are able to learn from and benefit from their experiences. First is the Born Learning Trail you see in the panel towards the top. So a few words about the Born Learning Trail. So learning happens everywhere a child goes, but parents, grandparents, and caregivers may not always know how to support that learning. Walking on a Born Learning Trail, however, with the early learner in your life, you'll be prompted to tell a story inspired by your surroundings, brainstorm words that start with letters painted on the ground, and try to make each other laugh and engage. This is kind of a way to promote engagement and skill development while having fun on the side. We hope to bring the first one of these Born Learning Trails to Acton-Boxborough this coming year. So our next initiative to engage families of early learners is the Ready for K program. Developed by educational researchers, Ready for K is actually an evidence-based family and engagement curriculum delivered via text messages. Each week, parents and caregivers receive fun facts and easy tips on how to promote their children's development by building on existing family routines, like pointing out letters on the cereal box at breakfast, or counting the number of steps as you walk to the car or the bus, or making feeling faces in the mirror after you brush your teeth. In a series of randomized controlled trials, this approach has actually been shown to increase child development by 2 to 3 months over the course of a school year. The program is available in several different languages, including Chinese and Spanish, and we hope to make this available for free to parents and caregivers in Acton-Boxborough starting this fall 2021. Now I'd like to introduce Carol, who will take you through our financial stability impact goal.
Thank you so much, Pubali. I joined Acton-Boxborough United Way at the start of the pandemic. And like so many of us, I had very little idea of the deep and growing needs in our community. I love working with data, and on behalf of Acton-Boxborough United Way, I had a front row seat to learning about local food security needs. As I tallied the demand for free food assistance in the Food Security Task Force, my eyes were truly opened. Over 720 families are still receiving free food today. That's a 61% increase versus before the pandemic. And as I updated the community scan with the latest census data, I was moved to learn that even before the pandemic, more than 1,000 residents lived at poverty level here in Acton-Boxborough. But the story does not end here. Many more local working families have earnings above the federal poverty threshold, but are struggling to make ends meet. Living in Acton-Boxborough is stressful for all the working families represented in this chart here. It shows the difference between the federal poverty threshold, that's the top bar, a common local earning scenarios, that's the middle bar, and the living wage, that's the bottom bar. and that is the minimum income standard to meet basic household needs for a family of 4 in 2020 in our Middlesex County. This data uses the living wage calculator from MIT. So let's start at the top. The federal poverty threshold for family of 4 is $26,000. This federal poverty standard barely covers housing and food needs, but it does not include critical basic needs such as healthcare, transportation, or childcare. Remember, more than 1,000 people in Acton-Boxborough, including 159 kids, fall in this federal poverty bracket. The middle bar depicts a common local scenario with 2 adults earning a combined annual income before taxes of $77,000. One works full-time in an admin position, $45,000 a year, and the other in personal care, $32,000. Their budget puts them above the federal poverty level of $26,000, but it's not enough to meet basic needs, the $110,000. The color bar at the bottom shows the living wage for a family with 2 working adults and 2 kids. Each color represents a basic need such as housing, childcare, food, etc. In 2020, the household survival budget for our area for a family of 4 is $110,000. This living wage does even not include funds that cover what many of us take for granted. It does not include funds for prepared or restaurant meals, or money for entertainment or vacations, nor does it include an ability to save to purchase a home or to save for college or retirement. All families in this chart, the top, middle, and bottom bars, are asset-limited families, or ALICE families. Most rent and don't own, as they cannot save to build assets. Most can't afford rental insurance. Imagine the fine line between financial independence and the need for assistance to fight housing and food insecurity for all these families. All households on this chart are a key priority for AB United Way. The pandemic has made recovery much harder for this group of working families. Caregivers were often laid off or furloughed. They have no financial buffer and cannot afford one single emergency or layoff. Many had to trade off childcare or work as they could not afford the spike in childcare costs or care was unavailable. Kids are limited in their participation in enrichment or after-school programs because the parents are working and the kids have no transportation. Many families cannot afford most summer programs. Yes, living in Acton-Boxborough becomes very stressful under these conditions. Just like access for vaccines was initially only available in cities and large centers, Acton-Boxborough are a desert for social services. Most economic mobility services are not available or much harder to access from the suburbs. In short, for financial stability, our dream state is that all low-income residents can benefit from a holistic care network. And our 3-year goal is to increase the use and availability of resources for low-income residents. Now, I'd like to tell you about 3 initiatives we'd like to implement in this coming year. First is the unmet needs table. We have close contacts with town, police, food pantries, faith communities, and many nonprofits. As we learn about community needs, we want to share a needs list with the community, like faith communities, Boys and Girls Scouts, and other groups. So together we can be more effective. Second is the creation of a community advisory board. Did you know that more than 80 languages are spoken at homes in our community? We're looking for volunteers to help connect with all residents in our community, to hear all voices and help advocate to better understand needs and share information and connect directly through the widest possible range of channels. And third, we want to create welcome wagon packets. We'll share flyers with community information via landlords and other means to new community members in multi-family homes, so people can connect quicker with available resources. Together with the Acton-Boxborough Racial Justice Collaborative, we're also setting up a pool of volunteers who can help answer questions that any newcomer might have. With two big disasters in our community in the past year, COVID and the Boxborough fire, we learned so much about crisis preparedness and relief. Unprecedented collaborations with so many organizations and so many volunteers, and the huge financial contributions by so many people, it all made a big difference in our community. The dream state is, of course, to never have any disasters or crises, but that's not realistic. So therefore, we need an effective, holistic community response to prepare and support our most vulnerable residents, including the families we just spoke about. We plan to document and share the learnings from this year with other communities and further improve our own preparedness for and ability to respond to disasters and crises. Let me now introduce you to Carl McWilliam Lopez. He's the Executive Director at the American Red Cross of Northeast Massachusetts. The Red Cross are first responders in crisis. They were on the ground the night of the fire. We work together and plan to collaborate more in the future, especially around crisis preparedness.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Carol. It's an honor to be here with you all this evening, really enjoying the program so far. At the Red Cross, we are committed to serving all the communities across Northeastern Massachusetts, the state, the nation, to alleviate human suffering in the face of emergencies. We respond to 2 home fires a day on average in the state. Over the past year, right here in Northeastern Massachusetts, we responded to 110 fires and gave out more than $190,000 worth of assistance to help the survivors. Recently, we responded to the fire in your community in Boxborough. Greek called me in the aftermath to support with the convening of a community meeting. We had a successful meeting. I think we all learned a lot, and we started to build a stronger partnership. And I was so impressed by the way that this community came together in the crisis, in the aftermath, for the recovery. The recovery is where the real hard work begins. I have a lot of experience with that in my brief career with the Red Cross, responding to disasters across the country, and I specialize in recovery. And this community deserves an applause for being a caring community. The fire in Boxborough really highlighted the importance of being prepared. And here we are, ready to work together, as Carol just said. And we at the Red Cross are really looking forward to doing so. We have a lot of great preparedness information that we look forward to sharing with the community. And so, Carol, greet the rest of the community that's on this call this evening. I'm here, the Red Cross is here, and we're really looking forward to working together going forward. Thanks for letting me be a part of your call.
Thank you so much, Kyle. My name is Janice Regan, and I will be co-chairing the 40th anniversary campaign and celebration with Mary Bell Mendoza. We are so excited to honor all of our community leaders of the past 40 years. And while we know the world and our community has changed a lot since 1981, our love and care for our Acton and Boxborough neighbors has stayed strong throughout. We look forward to celebrating with all of you. Mary Bell.
Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to have joined the board and to become a part of this caring tradition. We hope to create lots of moments for our community to come together, to meet again in person, and to cross-connect starting this fall for the 40th anniversary. Please save the date for Saturday, September 25th, which is the morning of the Oktoberfest in West Acton, for a 5K run and walk to get our community moving again. We'd love to have you involved, whether you have 1 hour to walk or to seek to plan other events. So please join us. Greet.
Well, on this exciting note, we are coming to a close of our annual meeting. Thank you all so much, really, for what you each do, because every person on this call cares about this community. Really. Thank you to my really phenomenal team. And the team is the staff team. I am, speechless of how above and beyond you go, including bringing excellent t-shirts in the last hour before the annual meeting, to exceptional volunteers, a fantastic board who really is big and bold, and to all these non-profits, for-profits, all people here on this call. Thank you for attending this program. We hope that you will feel inspired and to help continue to make our community a great place. We welcome, of course, if you want to get more involved. As you know, we can always create a role for you. But before we are going to really raise a virtual toast, we want to show one short clip of a most remarkable donor, I would say, our youngest ever 8-year-old, Abi. Some of you have seen him, but you cannot do anything else than smile. And then I hope you just stay on the call and we open it up and we just raise a toast. And because we have, despite this tough year, there is a lot to celebrate. So thank you all. And Abi, let's hear from you.
Thank you. So to all my friends watching this show, as the famous saying goes, individually we are a drop, but together we are an ocean. AB United Way does what no single organization can do alone, making a huge difference coming together. And we are all part of that community. So take action today and let us all step up to help anyone in need around us. United, we succeed. Thank you, Ms. Great, for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.